And we welcome you to New York City, the busiest, most incredible city on the planet. The city that also probably struggles more with understanding a lot of basic things about morality and life and other things than a lot of other places on the planet are. And it's one of the reasons why I, Kevin McCullough, feel very personally called to this place and to this time in history. I'm grateful that you're with us, though. It is AFA Today on AFR Talk, and we've got a lot to get to today. There's, tons of stuff to get to. I have a simple early question for you here in the broadcast. I told my boys I was the lovely bride. Well, let me do it. Kevin McCullough, 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840 if you want to weigh in. So last night, the lovely bride with a whole bunch of ladies from our church, all excited about Mom's Night Out. So they went to the theater to see it. I had seen it in a media screening earlier in the week, and so that meant I was the stay-at-home dad last night, and I was responsible for dinner and for pre-bedtime preparation. And, of course, the story and singing time before bed. I kind of do that anyway. It's kind of my thing. And then getting them in bed without, burning the house down or something, anything of the sort. So I could tell it was going to be a bit of a handful when I walked through the door, and the 1.8-year-old comes waddling in. He's at that stage where he kind of looks like Yoda from the Star Wars. He's just kind of the way he walks. And he always sticks his little belly out in front of him. He looks like a drunk kid, like a big beer belly, and he's like walking around. And he can barely stand up, but he comes in and he's like, da 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 da. And I said, and he's learned a new word. And I said, hi, Jonathan, you want to have dinner? And he said, no. Okay, do you want to go play? No. Okay, do you want Daddy to pick you up? No. So I'm like, okay, we'll just take it from there. And then the other one, the 4-year-old, he was still kind of like napping from the afternoon. This is probably, I don't know, 5:45, 6 o'clock-ish our time. So we get all the we wake up everybody, and we're kind of like recovering from a bad day, kind of like scraping the sleep out of our eyes and so forth. And so I asked the guys, like, what do you want for dinner? And they never want chicken. But last night they were like, chicken. And then, of course, the 1.8-year-old goes, chicken. So I was like, okay, let's go see if we've got chicken. So I'm looking through the fridge. Well, we have the big chicken that, Mom's planning on using for something else later in the week, I'm quite sure. But we don't have, we've got frozen meatballs, we've got sweet potato fries, we've got all kinds of goodies in the freezer. We don't have any chicken strips. But I found a box of fish sticks that were breaded. And I said, you guys want chicken? We want chicken. So I said, well, I've got some very special chicken for you. And I got them out, and I said, look at how cool this chicken is. It's all rectangular, long strips. It has nice crust on it. Got the cookie pan out, laid out nice and neat. Got the oven preheated, got it in there. Got it out. They wanted some dip. That's what they call it. Ketchup and mustard, kind of, on the side of the plate. And we got the fish sticks out, and they ate that chicken like they've never eaten chicken before in their life. Now, am I a bad dad? Because believe it or not, about 20 minutes after they went to bed, I'm like, I had to pull a fast one on them to do that. Does that make me a bad dad? Here in the eve of Mother's Day, wanting to be the kind of man every man should be, according to the title of my second book, wanting to be, a father that loves his boys and does what's best for them. Oh, and by the way, not only did they eat that, they ate all the other good things that I said tasted really good with chicken. So the veggies and the other stuff, we got everything eaten. And the bride was absolutely convinced that there was going to be all-out meal disaster because they had not eaten well at lunchtime. So she calls me up when they're on their way home, or texts me when they're on their way home from the movie, and she says, "How is everybody?" I said, "Oh, they're asleep. They're asleep. They're totally asleep. They're sleeping good." She's like, "Well, how did you get through dinner?" I said, "Well, I just gave them chicken." She goes, "We don't have any chicken." I said, "I know. It's the fishy kind of chicken." She goes, "Oh." So I don't know. My conscience. Do I need to confess to them? My conscience has been back and forth on this for the better part of the last 24 hours. Did I deceive my boys? Anyway, we can talk about that if you've got thoughts about it down the road. There is someone else who's very concerned about the deception in Washington, D.C. His name is Republican Congressman Tom Cotton, and he's not just your average congressman. He has been in Congress since returning from active duty for the U.S. Army, but boy, did he light up Congress yesterday. Take a listen to this.
Mr. Speaker, a couple lessons I learned in the Army were you move to the sound of gunfire. And the most important step in the troop leading procedures is to supervise the execution of your orders. When Americans were fighting for their lives in Benghazi, Barack Obama did neither. He sent no quick reaction force, and he didn't even stay in the Situation Room to supervise the execution of his orders. We expect more from lieutenants in the Army than our president gave us that night. For 2 years, he's covered up this failure of leadership by stonewalling. Not anymore. We will now get to the truth. But what do our colleagues on the other side of the aisle say to this? They express great outrage at politicizing this matter. When I was leading troops in Iraq in 2006, men and women who were being shot at and blown up by al-Qaeda, where was the outrage as they fundraised endlessly off the Iraq war? Where was the outrage as they viciously attacked our commanders? Where was the outrage when they said that soldiers were war criminals? Where was the outrage when they said the war was lost? Where was the outrage when they said that only high school dropouts joined the Army? Forgive me if I don't join my Democratic colleagues in sharing in their fake outrage. 4 Americans lost their lives that night in Benghazi. They deserve justice. The American people deserve the truth. One other lesson I learned in the Army is we leave no man behind, and we will not leave these 4 men behind.
Gentlelady from New York.
So I'm thinking that Congressman Tom Cotton was not all that pleased about some of the stuff. And have you noticed what he was talking about? All the talking heads and many of the officials of the government, the current government, when they are asked about this, they grow red-faced. They start literally. You see the spittle through the camera lights flying through the air. They're so twisted up about this. That was 2 years ago already. Well, the committee's been formed. The president's side of the political aisle is deciding today if they're going to participate or if they're not going to participate. There's arguments to be made pro and con. What I'm curious from you at 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840, is do you think that they should participate? Or do you think they would benefit from participating? It's hard to argue, and by the way, that congressman's got a lot of passion. He needs to work on his delivery a little bit because he should have emphasized one of the things I learned is that we run to the gunfire. He just blew through that line. It's a great line, but he didn't emphasize the right word in it. What he was talking about was the amazing sacrificial mindset that those who serve in the military always live with. And what he's explaining from a very resolute and military trained personality is that everything we did in the Benghazi episode was counterintuitive to everything we normally do. Now, I'm willing to have an open conversation about this today, and if you disagree with me, I'll push you to the front of the line. But if you happen to be of Democratic persuasion or have voted Democrat in recent years, I really want to open the phone lines up to you because I want to hear from you. Do you think that this is truly a partisan issue, or do you think the families of the victims have the right to find real answers truthful answers to the questions that are yet unanswered. The way the media is going to play this, and Peggy Noonan was brilliant this morning in the Wall Street Journal. She had this quote. She said, network leaders, meaning media, producers, and newspaper editors did not go after the story when the first serious questions began to bubble up, and afterward they dismissed the questions as old news. Now the media is divisive, defensive, and resentful. They are not going to help any investigators do the job they themselves should have done. She says if they had done it, there might have been no need for another investigation because people might feel satisfied that they knew the essential facts. Any proof of a Democratic cover-up will have the appearance of indicting the media as well. Well said, Peggy Noonan. Here's what I want to know. And I'm going to, you tell Cedra if you voted Democrat or Republican the last time. She's going to put that on the screen for me. But I want to know, especially from Democrats today, do you want Democratic officials to be part of the committee that will look at this finally and answer the questions that have not yet been answered? All four of the victims' families still have significant questions about whether or not we as a nation have been forthright with them in answering how their family relatives lost their lives. And I can't say that after I watched the bodies come off of the airplane and then rolled into that airplane hangar, and I watched that memorial service in 2012, and I saw the president and the Secretary of State go and shake the hands and hold the shoulder of the family victims of each of those deceased. I can't say that after having seen that and hearing them say in their speeches there, they reiterated this phony talking point about this video being the thing that caused this attack, and not that it was terrorism, which they knew 15 minutes into the attack, according to Leon Panetta, their own Secretary of Defense. I can't say that I blame the families for not still wanting to get answers to their questions. But that's a man, what we just saw from Congressman Tom Cotton is a man who served his nation with honor faithfully under whatever administration he was serving at the time. He wasn't a respecter of parties when he was a military man, but he's upset that the basic adherence to the things that he learned most when he was having his values core trained in him as a military man were not what was followed the night of this attack. So without partisan bickering, without assuming that everyone is a Republican and that this is just purely campaign rhetoric, or maybe that's what you think. Maybe you think this entire thing is just designed around whatever campaign cycle we're in. It's not like a lot of people even vote in the midterms. But here's what I want to know. Do you believe the Democrats should come to the table and participate in the committee as this investigation goes forward, especially if you voted Democrat in the past? If you voted Democrat in the past, I want to know your opinion first today. So tell Cedra, say, I voted Democrat in one of the last two elections. She'll put you to the front of the line. She'll indicate that to me on the screen. And then we will put you on air first, because I want to know, especially from you, do you want Democrats to participate in the lingering questions that are still unanswered about Benghazi? I'm Kevin McCullough. This is AFA Today on AFR Talk. Stay with us.